Hello, it's Kylie with Fem and Flow. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So, today we're going to continue with the Blueprint Restored series, and we're continuing with part two in your body. Up until now, we've traced how coherence moves step by step through the body, from DNA's crystalline code at the root, through fascia's geometry, blood's flow, and the nervous system's golden signals, all the way into mitochondria, brainwaves, and the eyes. But what informs all of this? What gives mitochondria the resonance to sing, fascia the geometry to hold, blood the vitality to circulate, and DNA the photons to encode? The answer is light. Light is the original informing current, the womb like brilliance of source before it fractures into tone, geometry, and matter. Every wavelength carries a distinct instruction, shaping how the body organizes itself and how the divine blueprint is expressed through flesh. Red penetrates fascia and blood. Green steadies the heart and nervous system. Blue sets circadian rhythms. Ultraviolet repairs DNA. In this sense, the Light Frequency Codex is not separate from what we've discussed, but is the missing key that makes the entire system intelligible. If DNA is the score, fascia the strings, blood the rhythm, and nerves the signal, then light is the first note, the spark that tells the orchestra how to play. So, what follows is a spectrum map, and I'll put this in the show notes. It's a codex of how each frequency of light translates into physiology, resonance, and dimensional architecture. It is both practical and mystical. Sunlight on your skin, dawn light in your eyes, or even the green glow of chlorophyll rich foods are not accidents. They are source instructing your body back into coherence. So let's go over the light frequency codex and source spectrum in the body. So first we'll start with infrared, and that is 700 to 1000 nanometers. So let's talk about the biology. It penetrates deepest into tissues, stimulates mitochondria, expands structured water, accelerates healing, reduces inflammation, supports circulation. And then the energetics. It feeds seventh dimensional resonance, which is mitochondria and sound vibration. It restores the wells of vitality. And like I said, the dimension link is the seventh dimension. It's the resonance chamber of mitochondria and structured water. So the next light wave we'll talk about is red, and this is 600 to 700 nanometers. So the biology, it increases ATP production, enhances blood circulation, supports collagen and fascia repair, and accelerates wound healing. And then the energetics, it animates blood flow with vitality, strengthens fascia's crystalline lattice. And then the dimension link, it's related to the sixth and the fifth dimension, which correlates to fascia geometry and blood circulation. Now we'll talk about orange light. It's 590 to 620 nanometers. And then we'll start with the biology. It stimulates creative energy, supports reproductive hormones, balances mood, and energizes without overstimulation. The energetics, it awakens sacral creativity, pleasure, and joy in movement. And then the dimensional link, it relates to the second and third dimension, the microbiome vitality and muscle flow. And then yellow light, 560 to 590 nanometers. And the biology, it supports digestion, microbiome signaling, and serotonin production. It brightens mood, boosts clarity, and focus. And then the energetics, it amplifies solar plexus, willpower, confidence, clarity of thought. And then the dimension link, the second dimension, third dimension, and fourth dimension, the microbiome to nervous system bridge. So now green light is 500 to 560 nanometers. And the biology calms the nervous system, reduces pain perception, balances circadian rhythm, harmonizes heart rhythm. And then the energetics. It creates equilibrium and neutrality. It fosters heart coherence and compassion. Then the dimension link is the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension. Nervous system and heart coherence, which correlates to blood flow. And then blue light, 450 to 495 nanometers. And then the biology, it regulates circadian rhythm via melanopsin and retina, antibacterial and antimicrobial effects, and it boosts alertness. The energetics, it stimulates throat expression, clear communication, it opens pathways of truth. And then the dimension link, the eighth dimension and the ninth dimension, brainwave scaffolding and eye reception. And now let's talk about indigo light, 420 to 450 nanometers. The biology, it influences melatonin cycles, deepens sleep-awake regulation, and supports pituitary pineal glands. The energetics, it activates intuition, inner vision, mystic perception. And then the dimension link, the ninth dimension, source light perception and subtle field awareness. And then there's violet light, 380 to 420 nanometers. The biology, it's the highest frequency of visible light. It stimulates pineal gland, supports DNA repair, and may increase mental clarity. And then the energetics, crown opening, divine connection, mystical remembrance. Then the dimension link is the full ninth dimensional spectrum from the ninth dimension down to the first. And DNA as liquid crystal tuned to source photons. And then ultraviolet, 10 to 400 nanometers. The biology, it triggers vitamin D synthesis in skin, sterilizes pathogens, regulates circadian and hormonal rhythms through retina and skin sensors. Then energetics, it sharpens DNA response, awakening dormant codes, and it's a purifier frequency. And then the dimension link, one-dimensional DNA repair and ninth dimensional source light anchoring. And then white light, the full spectrum. The biology synchronizes circadian rhythm and forms all dimensions of biology simultaneously. The energetics is wholeness, the amniotic light before it fractures into colors. The dimension link is ninth dimension, source as undifferentiated brilliance. Okay, now let's talk about the big picture. Light is the first informing field. Each frequency carries a specific instruction for the body in the field. From mitochondria, infrared, to fascia, red, to blood and heart, green, to DNA and cosmic codes, violet and UV. Your body is literally a prism. Fascia, DNA, eyes, and water all refract and translate these frequencies into coherence. To restore your divine blueprint, you don't need all light at once. You need cyclical exposure, mirroring the sun's arc. Dawn is red infrared, midday, blue UV, and dusk, red infrared again, and night, darkness for melatonin and DNA repair. Together form a spiral of coherence reset every 24 hours. Light is not random, it arrives as a rhythm. The same spectrum we mapped in the Light Codex does not shine equally at all times. It changes across the day in a precise sequence. Sunrise carries one set of instructions, midday another, sunset another still. In this way, the sun itself becomes a teacher, delivering different dimensional frequencies like chapters of a book, timed to guide our biology. What looks like a changing sky is actually the unfolding of a spiral, each turn of the Earth offering a full cycle of light frequencies that tune DNA, mitochondria, blood, fascia, and nerves in order. To understand light fully, we must not only know it's a spectrum, but also when it arrives. I'll put all of this in the companion notes as well. So let's talk about the morning. And this is sunrise to mid morning. The dominant light is red, infrared, and early blue. And then what it does, red infrared penetrate deeply, activating mitochondria to produce structured water and ATP. This is like charging the body's resonance chambers for the day. And then blue, at low intensity, starts circadian entrainment, signaling daytime and resetting your biological clock. The dimensional link, it supports 7D, mitochondria and water, and gently awakens 8D, brainwave scaffolding. So now let's talk about midday, late morning to early afternoon. The dominant light is full spectrum with peak blue and UV. So what it does, blue light is strongest. It sharpens alertness, focus, and mood regulation through neurotransmitters. UVB triggers vitamin D production in skin, which is critical for bones, 3D, immunity, and DNA regulation, 1D. UVA penetrates deeper, signaling nitric oxide release for blood flow and cardiovascular health, 5D blood. The dimensional link, it entrains DNA repair, 1D, blood vitality, 5D, and bones muscles, 3D, with strong daytime instructions. And then afternoon, declining sun through golden hour. The dominant light is balanced spectrum with less blue, more yellow, amber, and red. What it does, it begins calming the nervous system. Less blue means less alert signal. Amber red tones encourage parasympathetic shift, helping digestion and repair begin. The dimensional link, it soothes 4D nervous system and transitions the body into coherence flow. So now sunset, golden hour through the afterglow. The dominant light is red and infrared, almost no blue. And what it does, strong red infrared again charge mitochondria, preparing for nighttime repair. Absence of blue signals melatonin release, setting up the sleep cycle. And then the dimensional link, it prepares 7D mitochondria for overnight structured water repair and 4D nervous system for theta sleep cycles. And then there's nighttime, and this is from the darkness to the moonlight or firelight. The dominant light is darkness with low intensity infrared, moon, fire, starlight. And what it does, darkness itself is a signal. Melatonin rises, DNA repair activates, fascia reorganizes, and the nervous system remyelinates. Firelight, infrared, amber, red, is ancestral, soothing to eyes, blood, and fascia. The dimensional link, deep restoration across 1D DNA, 6D fascia, 4D nervous system, all reset during night. So let's talk about the big picture here. The body is designed to read the sun like a codex, receiving different instructions throughout the day. Morning charges, midday activates, afternoon balances, sunset prepares, and night repairs. Each light band connects directly to a dimensional layer we've mapped above. It's literally a spiral of light frequencies cycling every 24 hours. And just a practical note here, because this came up in my own life. Be careful if you have reading glasses or computer glasses, because a lot of places are automatically putting in blue light filtering lenses. So when I first got my glasses, I specifically wanted blue light filtering, but I didn't understand this deeper context yet. So now I want to get other glasses to wear during the day and then wear my glasses that have blue light blocking in them at night. I know that'll cost some extra money, but if you wear glasses during the day, I think it's worth looking into because you do not want blue light blocking during the day. Now let's talk about brain waves, the frequencies of consciousness in the body. When we talk about embodiment, we often focus on fascia, breath, and blood, but another layer of coherence lives in your brain waves. These are not abstract mind states. They are physical rhythms, electrical pulses moving through your nervous system, shaping how your body organizes itself in real time. Your brain is not just in your head. Every cell in your body responds to its electrical tempo. That tempo is measured as brain waves, bands of frequency that correspond to states of consciousness. Delta, 0.5 to 4 hertz. This is deep sleep, regeneration, cellular repair. In this state, your fascia hydrates, hormones rebalance, DNA repairs itself. Delta is the body's natural reset. And then theta is 4 to 8 hertz. Dreaming, meditation, memory access. Theta is a gateway where your subconscious and your field communicate. It's also where fascia unwinds trauma and emotional imprints. Alpha is 8 to 12 hertz. It's relaxed focus, creativity, presence. Alpha is coherence between hemispheres of the brain. It's when your nervous system feels safe and flow becomes possible. Then beta, 12 to 30 hertz. Everyday thinking, problem solving. Beta isn't bad, but when it dominates, you get trapped in loops of worry, gripping, and survival states. And then gamma is 30 to 100 hertz. This is higher integration, mystical states, full coherence. Gamma waves often appear when the brain is synchronized across hemispheres and when the nervous system is regulated enough to let light move through. Here's why this matters for embodiment. Your brainwaves train your body's frequency. If you're locked in high beta stress, your fascia dries out, your blood constricts, your breath shortens, and your mitochondria downshift. But when you enter alpha, theta, or gamma coherence, your tissues literally reorganize. Breath is one of the most direct ways to shift brainwaves. A few minutes of slow exhalations can pull you out of high beta and drop you into alpha, which reopens your fascia, oxygenates your blood, and restores nervous system rhythm. This is why practices like meditation, coherent breathing, or walking in nature feel so different. They're not just calming your mind, they're tuning your entire system into a new wave pattern. And in higher coherent states like gamma, something extraordinary happens. The brain hemispheres synchronize, logic and tone unify, and your whole body begins to pulse in one harmonic rhythm. This is when people report spontaneous healing, profound clarity, or the feeling of being one with God. So embodiment isn't just about muscle, fascia, or DNA. It's also about the wave your whole system is riding. When your brainwaves are coherent, your body becomes coherent. Now let's talk about brainwaves and dimensional energy. When we talk about embodiment, it helps to see that even our brainwaves are dimensional states. They aren't just neurological rhythms, they're frequencies that correspond to the architecture of our field. So delta is 0.5 to 4 hertz, and this corresponds to the first through third dimension, and this is matter and repair. Delta is the deepest state where the body restores itself. It corresponds to the densest dimensions. The one-dimensional crystal lattice, second-dimensional elemental flow, and 3D matter. In delta, your bones, tissues, and cells regenerate. This is why deep sleep is essential. It's when your body reroutes into the earth grid and repairs from the ground up. And then theta 4 to 8 hertz corresponds to the fourth dimension, the nervous system, memory, and time. Theta is the realm of the subconscious, where memory loops and trauma patterns are integrated. It's tied to the fourth dimension, the nervous system, and the architecture of time. In theta, the nervous system processes polarity loops, turning fragmentation into flow. This is why hypnosis, deep meditation, and REM sleep all use theta. It's the bridge where unresolved timelines soften into integration. So then we have alpha. This is 8 to 12 hertz. This is associated with the eighth dimension, and it is scaffolding and metatronic tone. Alpha is relaxed coherence. It's the state where brainwaves sync with Earth's Schumann resonance. Alpha belongs to the eighth dimension, scaffolding and metatronic tone. It is the architecture that holds you steady so the nervous system can safely descend into theta. Alpha is the doorway, the informing field patterning you into coherence. So then next is beta, and this is 12 to 30 hertz. This is associated with the third dimension, fourth dimension, and fifth dimension. This is survival versus clarity. Beta is everyday thinking. In its lower range, it supports clear 3D focus and action. But in its higher ranges, it often flips into fight or flight, fractured loops that distort the 4D and 5D fields into anxiety, stress, and survival bracing. Beta is a choice point. When coherent, it grounds higher tones into function. When distorted, it cuts you off from flow. Now let's talk about gamma. It is 30 to 100 hertz, and this is associated with the ninth dimension all the way to the 12th dimension. And this is unification and mystical states. Gamma is the highest, most integrated frequency band. It correlates with the upper informing fields, 9D source light, 10D logos, divine structure, 11th dimension Sophia, union and wisdom, and 12th dimensional divine architecture. Gamma is what happens when your hemispheres synchronize, your nervous system is regulated, and your body becomes luminous with coherence. This is the state of mystical knowing, full field unification, and direct access to God frequency. So now let's talk about brainwaves across the three paradigms. We've mapped delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma to dimensional energy. But here's something important. The same brainwave doesn't always mean the same thing. Your paradigm, black hole, bridge, or white hole, determines how each frequency expresses. So if you've been listening to this podcast, you're probably familiar with the three different paradigm lenses that I talk about. They correlate to frequency bands on Earth, but black hole paradigm is essentially the distortion and the false matrix that Earth has been under. And then the white hole paradigm is when we all restore coherence, when we restore it in us, and then when this leads to restoration on a planetary level. But between those, as you can imagine, you don't just flip from black hole to white hole. There might be a bridge phase where it might be messy, you might be learning, and it might be hard at times. But it's the bridge, and it's very, very important. So let's talk about these brainwaves and the three paradigms. So delta, it's repair and density. So in the black hole paradigm, delta often collapses into unconsciousness, disassociation, or stuck density. The body may sleep but not truly restore. And then in the bridge paradigm, delta begins to oscillate between exhaustion and deep healing. The body is learning how to repair itself again. And then in the white hole paradigm, delta becomes sacred restoration. Cells regenerate, fascia rehydrates, DNA repairs. You wake feeling luminous, not heavy. And then theta is subconscious memory integration. So in the black hole paradigm, theta can trap you into looping trauma or distorted astral patterns, nightmares, fear-based hypnosis. In the bridge paradigm, theta is unstable but opening. Old memory loops surface, trauma begins to process, it's sometimes messy. And then in the white hole paradigm, theta becomes a healing temple. Memory integrates, timelines collapse into flow, and the nervous system resolves polarity with ease. And then alpha, scaffolding in the doorway. In the black hole paradigm, alpha may be rare or unstable. The system struggles to find relaxed coherence, and the scaffolding collapses into distraction or numbness. And then in the bridge paradigm, alpha starts to show up in meditation, nature walks, breath work, moments of ah. It scaffolds the nervous system for deeper integration. And then in the white hole paradigm, alpha is a luminous scaffolding. Your field sinks to Earth's resonance effortlessly. Relaxed coherence becomes your baseline. And now beta, thinking, survival versus clarity. In the black hole paradigm, beta is hijacked. Constant stress, overthinking, survival bracing. And then in the bridge paradigm, beta oscillates between clear focus and anxiety. You're learning to choose regulation over loops. And then white hole paradigm, beta serves as clear function. It grounds high tones into words, actions, and creations without spinning into stress. And then gamma, unification, mystical states. Black hole paradigm, gamma may spike in distorted ways. Mania, overstimulation, but doesn't stabilize. In the bridge paradigm, gamma appears in flashes, profound downloads, mystical openings, but may be followed by crashes as the body learns to stabilize light. In the white hole paradigm, gamma is sustained unification. Left and right brain synchronize, fascia and breath conduct light, and you live as a coherent field of knowing. In other words, in the black hole paradigm, brainwaves fracture or distort. In the bridge phase, brainwaves oscillate, fluctuate, and begin to reorganize. In white hole embodiment, brainwaves stabilize as a coherent symphony, each serving its purpose in harmony. This is why embodiment isn't just about reaching higher states, it's about restoring the paradigm so that every state, even sleep or rest, expresses coherence. Now let's talk about the full brain merge, the rainbow bridge of consciousness. When coherence stabilizes across your brain waves, the next step is the full brain merge. This is more than hemispheres working together. It is the unification of your inner feminine and masculine currents in one harmonic field of knowing. So let's talk about the hemispheres before the merge. The left hemisphere was designed to hold structure, logic, language, sequencing, the masculine pole of mind. The right hemisphere was designed to hold tone, intuition, imagery, emotional presence, the feminine pole of mind. In the hijacked blueprint, these two split. The left often became dominant, control, analysis, hierarchy, while the right was suppressed, intuition, creativity, emotion. Other times, the right flooded unchecked, while the left collapsed. Both were distortions of separation. And then, now let's talk about the bridge phase. During awakening, the hemispheres flicker back and forth. Moments of piercing clarity followed by waves of overwhelm. It can feel disorienting as if you're swinging between two different operating systems. But this flickering is part of the rewiring. The myelin sheath is repairing, neural pathways are reorganizing, and fascia is softening across the cranial midline to prepare for coherence. So now let's talk about white hole embodiment. In white hole coherence, the hemispheres synchronize. The corpus callosum, the bridge of nerve fibers between them, begins to conduct like a rainbow bridge. You stop toggling between logic or intuition. They become one seamless stream. Logic becomes infused with love. Intuition becomes grounded in clarity. The nervous system quiets into rhythm. Breath balances between nostrils, signaling hemispheric integration. Fascia across the jaw, temples, and cranial sutures releases, allowing biophotons to flow without distortion. Brainwaves enter sustained gamma coherence, a hum of unification that feels like the whole head and heart are lit from within. Now let's talk about beyond the physiology. The brain merge is not just neural, it is dimensional. The left hemisphere corresponds to the masculine logos current. The right hemisphere corresponds to the feminine Sophia current. When they merge, logos and Sophia rejoin in you. This is the Christed mind. Thought and tone no longer split, but spiraling together as living wisdom. Now let's talk about DNA and the brain merge. At the genetic level, the merge awakens the strands tied to perception and communication. Dormant codes switch on, expanding memory recall, intuitive knowing, and direct oversoul guidance. You may find yourself receiving streams of intelligence that feel both logical and poetic, structured and musical. This is your DNA expressing coherence through the mind. So now let's talk about oversoul integration. When the hemispheres unite, the oversoul can finally land without distortion. Before, it had to route through split channels, its transmissions fractured into either pure logic or pure imagery. Now it flows as one current, and your human mind becomes a clear vessel for divine intelligence. Now let's talk about the big picture. In the black hole paradigm, the brain was fractured. In the bridge phase, it flickered. In white hole coherence, it becomes a luminous rainbow bridge. The mind as temple, the skull as dome, the hemispheres as unified choir. And this is what it means when we say, God doesn't just speak through you, God thinks through you. Your thoughts themselves become coherent tone. So now let's talk about the spine, the axis of light. Your spine is not just a stack of bones. It's the vertical axis of light in your body, the physical reflection of your merkaba's central column. So the fascia and nerves. Every vertebrae is wrapped in fascia and threaded with nerves, making the spine both structural and electrical. Then the fluid dynamics. Cerebrospinal fluid flows up and down this channel, carrying biophotons and subtle electromagnetic signals. Sacred geometry. The spine holds your midline symmetry. When it's aligned, your whole system conducts light. When compressed or distorted, energy gets trapped in loops. In black hole paradigms, the spine often collapses inward, bracing around trauma, compressing breath, and disrupting signal flow. In bridge states, it unwinds slowly through practices like yoga, fascia release, or chiropractic adjustment. In white hole coherence, the spine becomes a living antenna, broadcasting light through every nerve and vertebrae, stable enough to anchor your oversoul. Now let's talk about the chakras, energy gates of embodiment. Chakras are the gateways along the spine where your field translates into physiology. Root to crown. From grounding at the base of your spine to vision at the crown, each chakra acts as a transformer, stepping down higher dimensional energy into usable currents for the body. Now let's talk about the embodiment role. They regulate hormones, nerve clusters, and organ function. Each chakra is tied into plexuses of the nervous system, showing that the subtle and the physical were never separate. So let's talk about the bridge phase. In bridge states, chakras often feel blocked, overactive, or oscillating. This is the system relearning flow. Now let's talk about white hole coherence. Chakras stop being spinning wheels of imbalance and instead stabilize as radiant spheres of tone, aligned, balanced, transmitting without distortion. Think of them less as open or closed and more as gates of tone. When your fascia, blood, and breath align, the chakras naturally harmonize. Now let's talk about chakras as dimensional gates. The chakras aren't just energy centers. They are dimensional gates along the spine where higher frequencies step down into physiology. Each one links a dimension, a body system, and a planetary function. So we'll go through them now. So the root is tied to the first dimension, and this is bones, minerals, elimination. It anchors into Earth's crystalline lattice, governs bones, minerals, adrenals, and elimination pathways. In black hole states, root is survival fear. In white hole coherence, it becomes trust in Earth as living scaffolding. Now the sacral. This corresponds to the second dimension, and fluids, sexuality, reproduction. It corresponds to water and creative polarity. It governs reproductive organs, pelvis, and fluid balance. In distortion, sacral is exploitation or repression. In coherence, it is pure creative flow. Now, the solar plexus. This corresponds to the third dimension in digestion, metabolism, will. It relates to fire and the metabolic engine. Governs stomach, pancreas, liver. Distorted, it is control and power struggles. Restored, it's clear agency and radiant will. So now, the heart. This corresponds to the fourth and the fifth dimension. This is blood, circulation, and love. It is the bridge between density and higher tone. It governs heart, lungs, thymus. In inversion, it's closed or codependent. In coherence, it pulses unconditional love through blood as 5D tone. And now the throat. This corresponds to the sixth dimension. This is fascia, expression, and thyroid. It governs voice, fascia, thyroid, and breath regulation. When distorted, it's constriction or silencing. When restored, it becomes the clear scaffolding of sound, your sixth-dimensional blueprint expressed. And now the third eye. This corresponds to the seventh dimension in water memory, pineal gland, and vision. It governs the pineal, hormones, and circadian rhythm. When distorted, it leads to illusion and confusion. In coherence, it is crystalline perception, seen through distortion into divine pattern. And now the crown. This corresponds to the 8th all the way up to the 12th dimension. And these are the informing fields and the nervous system axis. This is your connection to higher scaffolding. It governs the brain, nervous system, and cosmic attunement. In inversion, this could lead to disassociation or spiritual bypass. In coherence, it receives the informing fields, 8D scaffolding, 9D source light, 10D logos, 11D Sophia, and 12th dimensional divine architecture. And then the 13th weave. This is not a chakra, but a harmonizer. It's the tone that unifies all gates into one living temple. Now let's talk about the breath, the bridge of spirit and matter. If the spine is the axis and the chakras are the gates, breath is the bridge. So the physical aspect, every inhale pressurizes the fascia, pumps cerebral spinal fluid, it's the blood. And then energetically, every exhale signals safety to the nervous system, allowing your tone to deepen. And then the dimensional aspect, breath is how source enters density. It is the first and last act of incarnation. In black hole states, breath is shallow, fragmented, and often held, keeping the body locked in sympathetic defense. In bridge states, breath oscillates, sometimes flowing, sometimes bracing, as the nervous system repatterns. In white hole embodiment, breath becomes rhythmic and effortless, a wave that continually resets the field. This is why so many traditions say breath is life. It is the original signal of coherence. Every inhale says, I'm here. Every exhale says, I trust. Together, the spine, chakras, and breath form the central architecture of embodiment. The spine is the scaffolding, the chakras are the gates, and breath is the current that moves through them. When these three are aligned, your body becomes the temple, the codex restored in flesh. So let's tie this back to the big picture. When the chakras are distorted, humanity lives in the hijacked blueprint. Root trapped in fear, sacral in exploitation, solar plexus in domination, heart in wounding, throat in silence, third eye in confusion, crown in disconnection. This is the black hole paradigm: survival, distortion, fragmentation. But when the chakras remember their true tones, they restore the original design. The body becomes a microcosm of the cosmic blueprint. Each chakra is like a node on the planetary grid. When one human remembers, the earth remembers. This is the big picture of the blueprint restored. The spine is the axis mundi, the world tree. The chakras are gates where dimensions become biology. The breath is the bridge, continually moving spirit into matter. When you align spine, chakras, and breath, you're not just healing yourself, you're restoring the divine architecture on earth. So now let's talk about the merkaba, engine of embodied light. If the spine is the axis, chakras are the gates, and the breath is the bridge, then the merkaba is the whole vehicle. The merkaba is your crystalline light body architecture. Two interlocking tetrahedrons spinning in opposite directions, one feminine, receiving tone, and one masculine, shaping form. It is the geometry that allows your soul to anchor into your body, and your body to transmit coherence into the field. So here's how it ties together. The spine. The merkaba's central axis runs directly through your spine. When your spine is aligned and cerebral spinal fluid flows freely, the merkaba stabilizes. Chakras. Each chakra is like a gear in the merkaba engine. They aren't just energy centers, they are rotation points that spin the fields into harmony. If a chakra distorts, the engine wobbles. If they align, the merkaba hums in coherence. The breath. Breath is the ignition system. Each inhale spins the fields upward, each exhale grounds them downward. This is why rhythmic breathing is key to activating the merkaba. It pressurizes the geometry and keeps the counter rotations balanced. Brainwaves. Your brainwave state is the speed of the engine. In high beta stress, the merkaba misfires. In alpha theta flow, the field lock into rhythm. In gamma coherence, the engine spins as one unified light body, stable enough to conduct higher dimensional intelligence. Full brain merge. The hemispheres are the inner masculine and feminine currents of mind. When split, they spin against each other, fracturing the merkaba. When merged, logic and tone spiral together, and the engine stabilizes at the neurological level. The corpus callosum becomes a rainbow bridge, synchronizing the hemispheres so the merkaba can spin as one harmonic field. When these pieces converge, the merkaba becomes not just a mystical symbol, but your lived architecture. Fascia forms its scaffolding. Blood provides its tone. Breath fuels its spin. Nervous system regulates its rhythm. DNA codes its memory. Brainwaves set its resonance. The hemispheres unify as Logos and Sophia. Chakras gear its rotations. The spine anchors its axis. This is why the merkaba is often called the vehicle of ascension. But in the white hole paradigm, it's not about leaving Earth. It's about stabilizing heaven in the body. When your merkaba is coherent, you become a node of coherence in the planetary grid. Every breath turns your body into a broadcasting temple, transmitting wholeness into the field. In the hijacked blueprint, the merkaba was fractured. Feminine and masculine spinning against each other, nervous system collapsing into loops, breath caught in the throat, chakras closing in defense, hemispheres split into polarity. In the bridge phase, the merkaba sputters, moments of ignition followed by wobble and crash, flickers of hemispheric connection before they short out again. In white hole coherence, the merkaba stabilizes. Feminine and masculine counter rotations harmonize. Breath becomes ignition. Brainwaves sink into rhythm. Hemispheres merge into one mind, and your body anchors as a living engine of light. This is the big picture. The merkaba is the unifier. It ties spine, chakras, breath, brainwaves, and the full brain merge into one architecture, the restored blueprint in motion. Now let's talk about the heart, the conductor of coherence. We've talked about fascia as scaffolding, blood as tone, breath as bridge, and brainwaves as resonance, but at the center of it all is the heart. The heart is not just a pump, it is the master field, the conductor that brings every system into harmony. The heart's electromagnetic field is the strongest in the human body, 60 times greater in amplitude than the brain. It radiates several feet beyond the skin, creating a resonance bubble that trains every cell to beat in rhythm. This is why when your heart is coherent, your brainwaves, breath, and nervous system begin to fall into coherence too. It's also an emotional conductor. The heart is also where emotion and energy meets. It translates tone into chemistry, releasing hormones that signal either safety or stress. When your heart is in fear, the whole body locks. When your heart is in love, the whole body softens. It is the portal where frequency becomes feeling and feeling becomes biology. It's also a dimensional conductor. In dimensional terms, the heart sits at the center point of the 12th dimensional template. Below, the body, density, structure. Above, the informing fields, light, intelligence. The heart is the midpoint that braids the two into one. It's where heaven and earth marry inside you. So, here are some signs of a coherent heart. Breath slows and deepens naturally. Brain hemispheres synchronize. Logic and intuition arrive together. Blood circulation steadies, giving skin a warm glow. The nervous system relaxes. You feel safe without needing a reason. Your field expands, and others feel calmer just standing near you. This is why heart coherence is the keystone of embodiment. You can hydrate fascia, oxygenate blood, train brain waves, but if the heart is in contraction, coherence won't hold. The heart is the conductor of the symphony. When the heart leads, everything else falls into rhythm. This is when the true tone body fully emerges, not as a collection of parts, but as one unified field, broadcasting divine order through flesh. Now let's talk about when the light body activates. Once the merkaba stabilizes, something extraordinary happens. The light body begins to activate. The light body isn't something separate from your human body. It is your human body, clarified, vibrating at its original frequency. It is the subtle template of light and geometry that has always been inside of you, waiting for the conditions of coherence to switch on. So, when does this activation occur? In the hijack blueprints, the light body stays dormant. Flashes of intuition or mystical experience may occur, but they flicker out because the body cannot sustain coherence. In the bridge phase, the light body begins to flicker online. You may feel buzzing, tingling, pulsing in your spine or fascia. Dreams intensify, synchronicities increase. At times you feel radiant, then crash as your system learns how to metabolize more light. In white hole coherence, the light body ignites as a steady current. Breath, fascia, blood, and nervous system harmonize to conduct higher dimensional energy without collapse. You don't just feel high, you feel stable, radiant, and deeply embodied. So, how does it activate? Number 1, fascia opens. The liquid crystalline network becomes conductive, allowing biophotons to travel freely. Number 2, blood glows. Circulation carries not only oxygen but emotional tone, flushing tissues with coherence. Number 3, breath deepens. Each inhale and exhale presses light through the spine, cerebrospinal fluid as a shimmering conductor. Number 4, nervous system regulates. Sympathetic loops soften, parasympathetic tone holds, allowing energy to pool instead of scatter. Then number 5, DNA awakens. Dormant strands switch on, receiving higher photonic information. The 13th strand harmonizes the whole system into one symphony. Then number 6, brain hemispheres merge. The corpus callosum becomes a rainbow bridge, synchronizing thought and tone so the oversoul can flow through clearly. When these converge, the body itself begins to emit structured light. This isn't metaphor. Every cell releases biophotons. The skin glows, the eyes brighten, the voice carries resonance. You literally become a lighthouse. This is the moment of true light body activation, when your human biology and your divine template are no longer split, but spiraling together as one vehicle of coherence. And here's the deeper truth. Activation isn't about leaving the body. It's about finally living in it, fully lit. So here are some signs your light body is activating. Light body activation isn't abstract. It's felt in your body, your emotions, and your field. Some signs feel radiant and expansive, while others can feel like challenges. Both are part of the same process, your system learning to metabolize more light. So here are some physical signs. A subtle inner glow, skin looks more radiant, eyes brighter, posture more fluid. Buzzing, tingling, or pulsing sensations in the spine, crown, hands, or feet. Waves of warmth or coolness moving through fascia, especially during breath or meditation. Sleep pattern shift, sometimes deep restoration, other times waking in the night buzzing with energy. Fluctuations in appetite or weight. The body may hold extra water or fat temporarily as it stabilizes light. Energetic signs. Heightened synchronicity. Reality feels like it's responding to your tone instantly. Feeling more sensitive to environments, people, or food, sometimes overwhelming until your field stabilizes. Oscillations in energy. Burst of vitality followed by deep fatigue as mitochondria and fascia adjust to higher photonic flow. So here are some emotional and mental signs. Old emotions rising, grief, anger, or fear surfacing to clear from tissue and fascia. Periods of brain fog or forgetfulness as neural pathways and hemispheres rewire. Feeling disconnected or disoriented at times, like you're in between worlds because you are. Less reactivity over time, but sometimes raw sensitivity in the moment of release. Here are some field level signs. Sudden waves of dizziness or pressure in the head as brainwaves shift into new coherence. heart flutters or expansions that feel strange but are tied to electromagnetic recalibration, flickers of expanded perception, flashes of light, geometry, or voices in the field that may feel startling before they integrate. A deep knowing something is changing in me, even if I don't understand yet. And remember, not every sign feels comfortable, but every sign is intelligent. The buzzing, the bloating, the mood swings, these are your body reorganizing itself around a higher frequency. You are not regressing, you are upgrading. Now let's talk about the bridge phase, when light meets density. There's a moment in every awakening where the soul says yes, but the body says, hold on, I'm catching up. This is the bridge phase, the time when higher frequency light begins moving through a body that was built under lower frequency conditions. In this phase, the body can sometimes feel like it's in crisis. Symptoms may arise not because you're failing, but because the light is flushing old density, reorganizing systems, and testing the structural scaffolding. So, here's some things that can happen in the bridge phase: fascia release, aches, soreness, jaw tension, or random buzzing as trauma imprints leave. Old injuries may temporarily flare as stored memory clears. Nervous system recalibration, sleep disturbances, sensory overload, social withdrawal, or waves of anxiety alternating with calm. Mitochondrial downshifts, sudden fatigue, cold extremities, or weight fluctuation as cells pause to relearn how to metabolize higher photonic input. Microbiome shifts, bloating, food sensitivities, sugar cravings, or gut discomfort as microbial colonies reorganize around new tone. Hormonal or immune flares, irregular cycles, hot flashes, night sweats, thyroid or adrenal imbalances, even temporary autoimmune systems as the immune system tests new thresholds of coherence. It can look like inflammation, flare-ups, or even illness. But rather than punishment, these are transitional markers, signs your body is repatterning. Now let's talk about how to walk this bridge phase. Slow down. This is not the time to force intensity. Your system needs space to recalibrate. Hydrate and mineralize. Light moves through water and minerals. They are the conduits for coherence. Support fascia. Stretch, gua sha, massage, vibration plates. Gentle methods that keep fascia open and conductive. Regulate breath. Long exhales, coherent breathing, or breathwork helps signal safety to the nervous system. Use light and warmth. Red light therapy, sauna, sunlight. These remind the mitochondria how to glow. Trust the process. Symptoms don't mean you're regressing. They mean density is rising to be cleared, and your body is building capacity for more light. The bridge phase can be uncomfortable, even disorienting, but it is also sacred. It's the in-between world where the old patterns unravel and the new architecture stabilizes. When you understand this, even illness or flare-ups stop feeling like setbacks. They become initiations, thresholds your body moves through to embody more light. In the companion notes, I will put a bridge phase symptom map. So I'll link that there instead of going over it in the episode. So let's talk about how you know when the light body has fully activated. The light body doesn't announce itself with the finish line. It reveals itself through stability. The difference isn't that you never have discomfort again, but that your system no longer collapses when density arises. Here are some markers that the activation has landed. Physiological stability. Your breath stays rhythmic even under stress. No more constant bracing or shadow holding. Sleep restores you, even if it's shorter or lighter. You wake up clear, not heavy. Weight, hydration, and energy levels stop swinging wildly. Your metabolism entrains to coherence. Fascia feels soft yet strong, like a living fabric that carries light instead of blocking trauma. Now let's talk about emotional and mental stability. Triggers may still arise, but you move through them quickly without losing center. Your baseline tone is calm presence. You no longer live in survival loops. The brain hemispheres feel unified. Intuition and logic arrive as one voice. Moments of joy or love feel sourced from within, not dependent on external conditions. Now let's talk about field stability. Synchronicities are constant, not occasional. Reality mirrors your coherence in real time. You no longer feel between worlds. You feel rooted and infinite at once. Gamma states, mystical union, whole field coherence, don't just flicker in and out. They begin to sustain as a gentle hum in the background. Others feel calmer, safer, or inspired simply by being around you, without you needing to do anything. The core knowing. You stop asking, "Am I activated yet?" because the question dissolves. Instead, you live in a felt sense of wholeness. You recognize that discomfort still arise, but now they are brief recalibrations, not identity crises. There is a quiet inner certainty. This is me. This is my true design. I can trust this. And that's when you know the light body isn't something you're visiting anymore. It's who you are, steady, coherent, luminous, and embodied. Now let's talk about the true tone body and field. When the light body activates, what emerges is your true tone, the resonance of your original design expressing through both body and field. Let's talk about the true tone body. Your true tone body is not random, and it's not a compromise. It is your perfect form, the divine architecture of your soul, remembered in flesh. Fascia becomes radiant scaffolding, transmitting light without distortion. Blood flows with coherence, pulsing love and vitality through every cell. Breath deepens into rhythm, anchoring spirit and signaling safety. The nervous system regulates with ease, stabilizing tone in real time. DNA strands awaken, weaving your original blueprint back into the physical. When this stabilizes, your body doesn't just improve, it reveals what it was always coded to be, a perfect vessel for your soul. So now let's talk about the true tone field. From there, the perfection of the body expands into the field. Your voice carries harmonic resonance, recalibrating others around you. Your presence shifts environments, bringing order where there was chaos. Synchronicities cluster around you because the quantum field reorganizes your tone as a perfect signal. You become magnetic, not through effort, but because coherence itself is irresistible. Now let's talk about why this matters. This is why embodiment is central to restoring the blueprint. Once the body and field stabilize in true tone, they become a perfect broadcast of divine order. In the hijack blueprint, the body and field express distortion, survival coding, inflammation, collapse. In the bridge phase, they oscillate, flashes of glow followed by instability. In white hole coherence, the body and field stabilize perfection, symmetry, radiance, and resonance aligned with source. The true tone body is divine perfection in form. The true tone field is divine perfection radiating into the world. Together, they are how the restored blueprint reveals itself, not as a concept, but as you, perfected in body, breath, and tone. Let's talk about how the false matrix distorts the physical body. To understand why the light body feels like such a breakthrough, we need to first see what came before it, the distortion of the false matrix. The false matrix isn't just an idea, it imprints directly into the body. It reorganizes your tissues, fascia, and nervous system around survival and separation instead of coherence and flow. Let's talk about how distortion shows up in the body. Fascia locks and dehydrates. Instead of being fluid and crystalline, fascia becomes tight, sticky, and brittle. Trauma and stress get trapped in its fibers, creating asymmetry, bracing, and chronic tension. Muscles brace for survival. Shoulders hunch, jaws clench, hips grip. The body carries itself as if under constant attack. Over time, this posture becomes the default template. Lymph stagnates. Without fluid fascia and breath-driven rhythm, lymphatic flow slows. The body swells, puffs, or retains weight. Not because of laziness, but because energy is trapped. Blood flow fragments. Instead of moving with rhythm, blood constricts under adrenaline and stress hormones. This dulls circulation, depletes oxygen, and reduces your inner glow. Breath shortens. Shallow breathing keeps the body in sympathetic mode, signaling danger even when there is none. Without deep breath, the nervous system never feels safe enough to release. The nervous system dysregulates. Constant overstimulation or fear keeps the system in fight, flight, or freeze. This prevents higher frequencies from anchoring, because the body won't allow what it doesn't feel safe to hold. Fat stores as protection. In a distorted state, the body often holds extra fat, especially around the belly, hips, and face. This isn't just about food. It's the body creating a buffer against a hostile environment, stockpiling energy for imagined threats. DNA silences. The deeper layers of our genetic code, often mislabeled junk DNA, go dormant, not erased but shut down as the false matrix cuts off the dimensional frequencies that would normally activate them. So the result, when you look in the mirror under the false matrix, you don't see your true tone. You see a version of yourself shaped by survival, distortion, and fragmentation. Puffy eyes, hunched shoulders, inflamed skin, stored fat, scattered energy. It's not who you are. It's who your body became when it had to adapt to a fractured system. And this is why light body activation is so profound. It's not about becoming something new, but unwinding distortion so your true design can surface. The fascia softens, blood clears, breath deepens, DNA awakens, and suddenly you recognize yourself again. Now let's talk about why understanding distortion matters. It's important to understand how the false matrix distorts the body, because if you don't, it's easy to misinterpret the signs and spiral into negative loops. At the same time, it's just as important not to hand over all discernment and say, well, it's all just energy, I don't have to do anything. The truth lives in the middle. Here's the trap of distortion. Your body carries density, puffiness, fatigue, weight swings, or inflammation. You look in the mirror or feel the symptoms and think, something's wrong with me, I'm failing. That judgment keeps your nervous system locked in stress, which actually reinforces the distortion. This is how the false matrix operates. It doesn't only distort fascia, breath, or DNA. It distorts your perception of yourself. It trains you to interpret temporary recalibrations as permanent flaws. But here's the nuance. Understanding distortion isn't permission to disengage. Your true tone body still requires your participation. Hydration, clean nourishment, movement, mineralization, nervous system care. These are the daily ways you help your system stabilize into coherence. So think of it this way. If your fascia feels puffy, don't shame yourself. Recognize it as old memory unwinding, but also support it with hydration, gua sha, or stretching. If your metabolism slows, don't collapse into self-blame. See it as your mitochondria recalibrating, but also give them oxygen, red light, and clean fuel. If emotions surge, don't assume you're broken. Understand they're clearing from tissue, but also breathe, journal, or move them through. This is the balance. Awareness prevents looping and judgment. Responsibility prevents bypass and collapse. When you hold both, you're neither fighting your body nor abandoning it. You're partnering with it. You're saying, I see what's happening, and I'll meet it with both compassion and action. That's the heart of true tone embodiment. Not passivity, not perfectionism, but participation. Trusting your body's intelligence while also feeding it the conditions it needs to reveal your original design. Now let's talk about tools of coherence, how we resculpt the body into light. And I will add this in the companion notes as well. True tone embodiment isn't passive. Your body already knows how to remember, but you can accelerate the process by partnering with it. Think of these as tools of coherence, practices and modalities that don't override your design but retune it. They help your fascia, blood, breath, and nervous system resculpt themselves into light. So, number 1, fascia practices. Fascia is your body's liquid crystalline network. When it is locked or dehydrated, life force can't flow. So, here are some tools: gua sha, foam rolling, stretching, vibration plates, neuromuscular massage. And these open the fascia grid, release stored trauma, and restores fiber optic conductivity. Number 2, breath work. Breath is the bridge that signals safety to the nervous system and pumps light into every cell. So here are some tools: coherent breathing, box breathing, extended exhales, heliotropic patterns when guided. So breath restores rhythm, oxygenates blood, repressurizes fascia, and anchors spirit into the body. Number 3, nervous system regulation. Without safety, coherence cannot hold. The nervous system is the tone gatekeeper. So here are some tools: meditation, vagus nerve activation like singing and humming, weighted blankets, and gentle routines. The system learns to relax, discharge loops, and stabilize into present moment flow. So, number 4, light and energy therapies. Your cells are light sensitive, especially mitochondria, which generate the glow of vitality. So, here are some tools: red and near infrared light therapy, sunlight exposure, sauna, and cold therapy. Mitochondria switch on, ATP production rises, collagen heals, and your inner radiance increases. Number 5, hydration and mineralization. Water and minerals are the conduits of higher dimensional energy. Without them, frequency has no medium. So here are some tools: structured water, trace minerals, magnesium baths, green juices, or chlorophyll. Your cells become conductive, fascia hydrates, and the 5D to 7D scaffolding comes online. Number 6, movement and spiral intelligence. Movement reorganizes tissue patterns and teaches fascia to flow instead of brace. Here are some tools: Pilates, walking in nature, yoga, dance, qigong. The body remembers grace, symmetry, and proportion, aligning geometry with tone. Number 7, ancient energy maps. Systems like traditional Chinese medicine or acupuncture understand body as frequency pathways. So here are some tools: acupuncture, cupping, and herbs. Meridians open, organ tone recalibrates, and energy begins flowing in original coherence. So here's the big picture. Western medicine often manages dysfunction by overriding signals. Tools of coherence do the opposite. They amplify your body's intelligence. They don't suppress symptoms, they help the system resolve them at the root. And when you use these tools with awareness, you're not fixing a broken body. You're resculpting your body into what it already is: light made flesh. Now let's talk about the 12th dimensional template, source light through the prism. One of the most important things to understand about embodiment is that the 12 dimensions of energy aren't arbitrary. They are the base fractal of creation, the template that source light moves through to become structure, tone, and form. You could think of it like this: source is pure, unbroken light. But when that light passes through the prism of creation, it refracts into 12 rays. Those 12 rays are the original architecture. They are the scaffolding upon which everything else builds. This is why we see the pattern of 12 everywhere. 12 dimensions of energy, the base levels of the field. 12 tones of resonance, the musical scale of creation. 12 archetypes, the storylines of human consciousness. 12 tribes or arctones, the living expressions of source and culture and lineage. 12 chakras, 12 strands of DNA, 12 systems of the body, the ways the template shows up inside us. The point is, these aren't random correspondences. They are all fractal echoes of the same original 12-fold template. Just like light shining through a prism doesn't create random colors but a precise spectrum, source shining through creation doesn't create random forms but a precise 12-ray architecture. This is why remembering the 12 dimensions matters. It ties everything back to the original template. If you only look at chakras or DNA or tones, you might think they're separate systems. But when you see them all together, you realize they're different faces of the same prism. And this is what embodiment really is: not chasing pieces, but restoring coherence to the whole. When you align your DNA, your chakras, your tones, and your nervous system with the 12-dimensional template, you're aligning with the source pattern itself. The 12 is the cosmic blueprint. The 13th, the weaver, is what harmonizes them back into wholeness. So let's look at the body through this prism. Your body is one of the clearest places to see this template in action. So this part I'm just going to put in the companion notes. It just breaks it up into some different categories: the lower dimensions, the middle dimensions, the upper dimensions, and the higher dimensions. And it just goes over again what this is and which dimensions correspond and what they mean. We've kind of already gone over this, but this just gives you a viewpoint of more of this prism perspective. So now let's talk about from healing to creation. Up until now, much of what we've explored has been about healing distortion, unwinding trauma from fascia, repatterning brainwaves, stabilizing the nervous system, restoring DNA. That is sacred work. But the purpose of embodiment isn't just repair, it's creation. Once your true tone body stabilizes, your field stops collapsing into survival. The bridge phase softens. The symptoms quiet, and something new emerges. Overflow. Breath stops being just survival air. It becomes a wave of rhythm that conducts intention. Blood stops carrying stress hormones. It becomes a river of love that glows through your skin. Fascia stops locking trauma. It becomes a crystalline lattice that broadcasts light. Brainwaves stop looping in fear. They synchronize into gamma coherence, opening mystical knowing. The heart stops bracing. It expands, pulling the whole system into one harmonic beat. When this happens, the question is no longer, how do I heal? The question becomes, what do I want to create? Because your body itself has become a projector. Your thoughts and emotions no longer leak, they radiate. Your nervous system doesn't just regulate you, it regulates the space around you. Your DNA doesn't just store memory, it sings codes into the field. This is the deeper meaning of embodiment. You're not just here to escape your body or even just to fix it. You're here to live as a node of creation, to stabilize the white hole blueprint in flesh, so new realities can ripple out through tone. In the hijack blueprint, the body was locked in repair mode. In the bridge phase, the body oscillates between repair and collapse. In the true tone coherence, the body graduates into creation. Your light body becomes a broadcasting temple. This is where embodiment meets mission. It's no longer about getting by, it's about shaping reality through the frequency you live in. So, thank you for tuning in today. I know we covered a lot, but I hope this helped make embodiment feel a little more real, less like a spiritual idea, and more like something you can actually feel and practice in your daily life. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. Not just understanding energy, but learning how to live in a body that can hold it. Learning how to breathe deeper, soften tension, support your nervous system, and feel safe enough to let your true self show up. When we talk about fascia, blood, mitochondria, breath, it's not abstract. It's the actual structure of how your soul expresses through form. And the more you support your body through movement, light, rest, nourishment, and presence, the more your natural frequency can come through. If you're in the middle of the bridge phase right now where things feel a little messy or unclear, that's okay. It's part of the process. Your system is learning how to hold more light, and that takes time. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to stay in relationship with your body and your breath. So take care of yourself, use the tools that help, and remember, this isn't about chasing a better version of you, it's about letting the real you come forward. So, also, for free on Patreon, I'll be posting a guided merkaba embodiment practice, and I'll also link that in the show notes. And again, this will be for free. I have a paid tier, and you can also just join Patreon for free. And again, I will link companion notes and a guided merkaba embodiment practice. So actually, I already edited it all, but I have something more to add. I'm also going to be posting another free episode on Patreon. If I'm done with it by Tuesday when I post, I will link it in the show notes. Otherwise, just know it's coming and go follow me on Patreon. And you can follow the free tier or the paid tier. I post a lot more on the paid tier though. But what I'll be posting here is specific things I have been doing and am going to really focus on this month. And this is specifically for my masculine side. Because, like we've been talking about, the feminine sets the tone, and then the masculine creates form or takes action on that tone. So, there's stuff we can do to help our masculine sync up to our feminine tone. For example, the feminine energy sets the tone, and the masculine energy makes that tone physical. So when I talk about our true tone, it's truly our feminine energy setting this true tone, and then the masculine energy makes that true tone physical. It builds physical structure around that tone that your feminine sets. So on Patreon, on the free episode, I'll be talking more about this and telling you exactly what I do and what I have been doing to help my masculine actually create structure around this feminine tone. We don't have to do all of this, but we can to speed it up. So I'll just be sharing that. Like I said, I'll link this in the show notes if I have it done in time. Otherwise, know it's coming. I think if you go subscribe on Patreon, you get notifications when new episodes are posted. So here's one more thing I want to add about Patreon. I would love for you to go follow me there, even if it is the free tier. I'll be posting more on the free tier and continue to post a lot on the paid tier. But here's why I feel like this is really important. First off, when I post on TikTok or Instagram, my posts barely get any reach. I have a certain number of followers on TikTok, but my posts don't even reach the number of followers I have. And it seems like if you're not on Instagram and TikTok posting multiple times a day, it's really hard to grow. And honestly, I don't love posting on there. I would much rather post this longer form content that I can go into more nuance and give details rather than the short clips. I feel like social media is just something I have to do to reach more people. My passion lies on this longer form and helping in these deeper and more nuanced ways. Clips can really get taken out of context, or people comment and say, no, there's a lot more to it, or XYZ. I'm like, yeah, I know this is a 1 minute clip, but it just seems like these social media companies and this tech hold so much control about reaching your audience. It just feels like I can't get out what I'm trying to say to my audience. Definitely to new people, but even to the audience I already have. So that's something, because on Patreon, I can post what I want and it can send out emails when I post. And it just feels much more peer to peer, I guess. And eventually I could even open up the community where we all chat on there. So that would be great. And another thing is, I heard recently that Spotify was changing its terms where they can use your content. And I heard this was kind of an AI play, so they can make music using artificial intelligence based on all the songs that are posted on there. So I don't know, I haven't confirmed this, but just makes me think deeper about it as well. And I know Patreon is also a platform, but right now it just seems like you can reach people better if they're already following you. So yeah, please go follow me there. And another thing I haven't talked about here yet, I did talk about it on Patreon. After this series I'm on is done, the hijacked blueprint arcing into the blueprint restored, I actually feel like the podcast part of my mission has been complete. I truly view this whole podcast process as my own spiral up into this understanding that led me to the series I'm doing now, the hijacked blueprint and the blueprint restored. And that will live on, and be there as something hopefully other people find when the time is ready for them to find it. So another thing I haven't talked about here is I'm going to be writing a book about the hijack blueprint and the blueprint restored. It'll just be called The Divine Blueprint. And I'll go into more information than I even talked about on the episodes. But as you can imagine, that'll take a lot of time, and I don't think I have time to do the regular podcast, Patreon, write the book, and do all the other stuff I'm working on in my life. So, after this series comes out, I won't be posting on the normal podcast anymore. I'll only be posting on Patreon. So, I'll post on the free tier as well, but most of it will be going on the paid tiers. I'll see how it all pans out and go from there, but that's where I will continue. So definitely go follow me now so you can get the notifications. And I'll be posting about this whole process of me writing the book as well. And I would love for you to be there and follow me, because basically you were there from the first idea sparking about the book and this series that I'm still posting right now. And there's a few more episodes to the Blueprint Restored. So if you've been listening to the podcast, I'd love to see your name pop up in the membership of my Patreon. And like I said, no need to pay anything. There will be a free tier, and there's also a paid tier if you want even more information and content. And in the next episode, we will move on to the Blueprint Restored, Part 3 in your life. I love you all and have a great day.